welcome back to the shop. Today I want to start going into a little bit carving the neck. So some tools I think that are incredibly helpful for this is there's this, it's called a Shinto. It's a file made in Japan. It's got a real coarse side and a more mild side, if you will, medium side. And this really will take off a lot of material and get you a good carving, if you will, on the neck. This is almost an essential tool. I'm not sure, I guess you could do it with just wood rasps, and I do have a wood rasp as well, so but those tools will help in filing. So what I've done already, I've shown you guys how to route the truss rod slot. I've mentioned before, center is important on this guitar throughout. Every piece needs to be centered. So I have this all marked. You probably cannot see it, my guess is, because it's with pencil lead on the camera, but I have marked out where the fretboard goes. I've done a rough mark out of what the head will look like so that we can start carving on this. Now what I'll do next is I'll take this to the bandsaw and I'll just kind of close cut towards my marks, okay? I have not drawn on this one yet. I'll show you. I have two guitars going at the time, so this one is the neck that I started carving on already. You can see it's got, the rough shape is getting there, right? That's kind of the head style that I've come up with that I like, my son likes, whatever. So that's kind of the one I'm going with. This happens to be a laminated neck. It's some maple and some black walnut. I cannot do the tenon end on this until I get the body done, which I'm a long way from doing. So I just had started carving on this neck first just to kind of show you this as a reference. So I gotta say, carving necks is a lot about, I think, feel and art. There's not a lot of dimensioning you can do. There's some, like off Gibson print or another neck if you have one, you can kind of get what this rough thickness needs to be, you know, and you can do that. You can check that down the neck if you want, and I do that periodically. I'm not a guitar player, but I think a lot of this is kind of feel. You know, can your hand go around that? Again, this is closer to a Gibson size. A buddy of mine at work that tried my first guitar, he liked the guitar. He said, "Oh, the neck might be a little thick for me." He said, "I like a Martin neck," which I think he said Martin, which is probably a little thinner. He had smaller hands. So if you're making it for someone and you have the opportunity to let them feel it, I would let them feel the neck and see to them, is this comfortable? But I think a lot of what you want is you want the smoothness and the uniformity to this as you carve it out and file and sand and do whatever you can to take material off. So can get a little tricky, I guess, but you don't know till you try, right? Again, I'm not trained at doing this. I just kind of figured it out as I went. So this is roughly what it will look like. Once I get the bodies done, we can get this mounted on a jig, get the tenon routed out and everything on this, put some inserts, you know, and continue on the neck. But I'm going to show you on this neck then what we need to do. But I started to say, this angle here, if you can see that, I need to mark on this one still. And then what I have is I have a 7-degree wedge that I put this on, and I rough cut on my bandsaw because that's roughly 7 degrees. Again, that's my design. That's the angle I happen to come up with. You know, you do what you feel looks good or what looks nice on your guitar. So I'm gonna get some of this marked up, and then we'll get some of this rough cut on the bandsaw, and I'll start showing you how to work that Shinto file. that's kind of rough cut out. What I'll do now is I'll take it over to my little belt sander, kind of shape it a little bit, and then we'll come back over and we'll start getting some rough dimensions on the thickness here. That's really where I want to start, is at this end of the neck, and then I'll just start working my way down the neck. Okay, so got this, got a lot of material removed, as you saw. I did it on the bandsaw, did it on the sander, got this to a rough shape. And what I'll do now is we'll just start carving with this Shinto file. Depending on how close cut you've cut the width of this neck to your fretboard width, you want to make sure you're not taking any off the width of the neck. If you end up making this thinner than your fretboard, you got a problem. So what I like to try to do is try to leave this just a fat 30/2 or 1/16 even, if you have to, wider than your fretboard. That way, once you get out your mortise and tenon and all that stuff's done, you mount your fretboard, then you've got some room to really shape this into the fretboard, so you have a really nice smooth transition between the fretboard and the neck of the guitar, so it almost feels like one piece of wood. So you want that kind of smooth as that baby's butt, so to speak. So you want to make sure that as you're coming across, that you're not taking away thickness from the neck, or width of the neck. So another important thing I forgot to tell you. All right, well, after quite a bit of filing on this, I have my thickness at the end of the neck about where I want it. So what I'll do now is I'll start working down from there. And again, it's really about feel. Feel the guitar yourself, the neck, like I said, you know, kind of like I showed you on this one. You know, put your hand on it like you're playing a guitar and see from a thickness standpoint what feels right. Again, remember, try not to mess with this width on this neck so you're not messing up your fretboard mounting later. What you're really feeling for is the thickness this way, right? What feels right on your hand as you run up and down this neck. So that's what you got to do now. There's a lot of shaping involved. Again, I mentioned the Shinto file. This is a lifesaver, definitely worth it. I think I got that on Amazon. StewMac, I'm sure, has them. Wood rasp, get these anywhere, same thing. Different coarsenesses to this file, and do some of the shaping and stuff. It gets a little tricky around the neck here, or where the head comes in, because you want that all to feel smooth during the transition, you know, from the head to that. But there's some really unique angles that come together, so you got to kind of feel your way around that. So we'll get some more shaping done on this neck, and then we'll come back. I usually just take just a sander when I'm done, and kind of get some of the roughness out of it, if you will. That's just an 80 grit on there. Again, I'm not trying to take off a bunch of thickness or do shaping with it, as much as I'm just trying to get out some of these deep gouges that the Shinto rasp does, or file does on there. So that's what we'll do next. We'll continue to shape this, get this into a position where we think it feels good, and then we'll start working on some other parts of this guitar so we can get the tenon done on these necks and get them mounted. Talk to you next time. Stay blessed.